Hey guys, OG Albani here, bringing you guys yet another Pokemon Draft League movie. Today we're going to be going over a tournament that I played, honestly, a couple months ago at this point, but I figured it'd be a fun one to show you nonetheless. This is going to be our first Pokemon Champions Singles Draft League tournament. Now, obviously, elephant in the room, this is on Showdown, as Champions doesn't have the capabilities of running 6v6 Singles Draft League. However, the Showdown scene in particular, like the Smogon side of it, ran a kickoff tournament with the original Regulation MA rule set and format, and just kind of extrapolated it into a 6v6 format, which obviously isn't possible on console, but we can do what we want on Showdown. So this is going to be my run of that tournament. You can kind of see a hypothetical of what a 6v6 Draft League metagame would look like on Champions, and maybe eventually they'll bring it, who knows. But I have some fun Champions Singles Draft League content coming up for you guys, and if you guys do enjoy that kind of stuff and are excited for this video, I'd really appreciate if you dropped a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 10k subs, and I can only reach that goal with your help. Now, that being said, really quick, I just want to go over the team very briefly, the team that I drafted for this tournament. I forget exactly which pick I was in my draft pool, but I know I was right towards smack dab in the middle. And if you guys remember Regulation MA, you'll remember it was a very, very limited format in terms of the Pokemon that were in it. It felt like half of the decks was Mega Pokemon. So I think all things considered, getting like a mid-round 1 H/slash really wasn't all too bad. I think something that's really, really lacking in this format is solid steel types, and having like really strong having a really strong steel and also a really strong fighting check with all the strong offensive fighting megas like Medi, Gallade, and all the new ones even as well. It's really nice. Obviously, Gallade H/slash is very versatile Pokemon, whether it be being physical, special, whether it being a setup sweeper, whether it being a defensive pivot throughout the game, as well as being a spin blocker. And you'll see that's a big kind of aspect of our team is the hazards portion of it. I think AG is really strong. It does put us back a little bit in having a steel type that can't stealth rock, but we'll be able to patch that up a little bit later on as we go. Next up, I really wanted to secure some speed, and I wasn't feeling too pressed on getting my Mega Pokemon just yet because there were so many in this dex that it felt like prioritizing better non-Mega Pokemon was just more optimal. So I ended up grabbing Greninja here. Obviously, access to, a pretty crazy base speed stat in 122, hitting 191 with a max and, speed boosted nature, as well as having great tools like pivoting moves and flip turn and U-turn, spikes, and also being incredibly strong offensively. I also think it's one of the better choice scarfers in this format, which I think is a really important thing in Singles Draft League, is having a solid, strong Scarf Revenge Killer. Now, we do end up getting another really good Scarfer in this format, in my opinion, in a couple rounds here, but Greninja obviously gives us that tool as well as some pretty crazy coverage and then access to its Protean ability, which is pretty awesome. Can't run Battle Bond because it's not available in the game currently, but Protean is obviously still very strong, and we can do some pretty cool stuff with Greninja with its great speed tier. And yeah, pretty strong Pokemon nonetheless. All right, next up, I grabbed my Mega Pokemon. It looks like a sprite isn't showing up for it, but it is going to be Mega Glimmora. I think this Pokemon is absolutely insane. I think alongside the spikes pressure that Greninja provides, it can be really powerful. Really, unless you're a Steel type, you're not switching into Mega Glimmora's adaptability, Sludge Wave, and Power Gem. And even then, Earth Power is still going to chunk you. You also have access to Spike and Stealth Rock on your own, so we do get our first Rocker, as well as another Spiker, which is obviously a really cool aspect of this team. Again, more hazard stacking. Obviously, we can like Rock Polish up and win the game that way, but we can even go 3 attacks plus a Spike. We know we force very specific switch-ins, and we get very free Spikes up. Much like how Greninja often plays, Glimmora can do the same. And they really can kind of whittle down opposing teams, opposing checks, and things like that, and then eventually end up winning a little bit later on. So I really like that aspect of Glimmora. I think it's an incredibly strong Pokemon. Our team is a little bit ground weak at this point. We'll have to patch that up a little bit later, but nonetheless, very strong Pokemon. Really excited to give it a go. Next up, I end up grabbing Sylveon. Sylveon gives me a couple things. It gives me a really solid Dragon check. Obviously, AG can as well, but they typically have great coverage for AG. AG doesn't have reliable recovery, where Sylveon can wish and keep itself healthy, as well as the fact that Sylveon is really good at keeping Aegislash healthy with clicking Wish and then a pivot into it, especially on like the poisons and the steel types that might beat Sylveon. Something else I think is really cool about Sylveon is the things that switch into Sylveon are the things that switch into Glimmora. That means each of these Pokemon can really break through and wear down these very often having to come to checks. And another big aspect of it too is I think that there, like I said before, isn't a lot of great defensive and fat steals in this format currently. So having two Pokemon that are incredibly strong with Glamour's adaptability boost, as well as Sylveon's Pixelate Hyper Voices, is actually a pretty valuable asset in my opinion. So Sylveon's here to kind of keep our team together defensively, as well as be a strong offensive Pokemon with like, you know, a potential Calm Mind variant, or even just like a Fairy Feather Hyper Voice or something of the sorts. Next up, we have Infernape. Infernape gives me my second really good Scarfer. It gives me a little bit better, or another Dark Resist, which is something that Sylveon also gives to the team that I forgot to mention. But the main thing is it gives us something to really break through those Steel types that the rest of our team really doesn't appreciate right now. Glamour, Sylveon, even Age/Turn to extent, depending on what it is. Infernape really breaks through those Pokemon. It gives me yet another Stealth Rocker, so it's our third Stealth Rocker, or no, our second Stealth Rocker at this point. Don't worry, we'll get another one to where these offensive Pokemon are always forced to rock. But it can do it. It can Nasty Plot, it can Swords Dance, it has a Mach Punch and Vacuum Wave for priority. Honestly, in a lower power format like this, Infernape feels like it can kind of like live up to its glory days and be strong like it once was back in like Usum and Oras and things like that. Whereas Powder Creep kind of caught up to it in Scarlet and Violet and it didn't see as much usage. But obviously a really strong Pokemon nonetheless. Next up, I grabbed Serena. I'm sure you noticed it. Our team was unbelievably ground weak. So our next three picks actually help us patch that in a little bit of a way. Regardless, it also gives me Rapid Spin, which I know Serena isn't regarded as the greatest spinner of all time, but there's really not that many options in this deck. And having Spin felt incredibly important with the big emphasis on hazards we have here up to this point, and with our next pick, actually. Spoilers. So that's obviously really solid. It gives us a really solid water resist as well. It's a really big defensive glue piece to this team. And again, we get other things to kind of patch this, whether it be our next pick checks ground types really well, and our pick after that checks water types really well, but Serena also helps in that regard. Gives the Pokemon to break through waters a little bit more initially better. It also got that big buff to Trop Kick, which now it is 85 base power, so don't really have to run Power Whip for much anymore unless you really need some power out of this guy. Also a decent budget Scarfer if we really need it in a certain scenario. Really strong Pokemon nonetheless. Then it is Gliscor time. Big old Gliscor. Obviously not in his like greatest form right now. With no Toxic Orb in the game, you really can't get the most out of its Poison Heal ability, but it doesn't change the fact that Gliscor's stats, typing, and toolset are really incredible for a limited decks like this. If it had Toxic Orb, it'd be like low-key one of the better Pokemon in the format, to be honest with you. I still think it's really strong, getting access to both Spikes and Stealth Rock. Unfortunately, they did not give my Goat Roost back, which is a little bit unfortunate. But there's also positions where we can Swords Dance and Agility, kind of like a Terra Gliscor would in Generation 9 Draft League. So I think Gliscor is still really solid. I'm not too upset with having it. Then lastly, big glue piece, Milotic. It kind of helps us out with a lot of the big things we're having issues with. I think Waters, it's really good as a water resist. It's really good as a fire resist, which right now we don't have great options for, only offensive Pokemon. Really just the secondary defensive water with Greninja is a great kind of like hole patcher for this team right now. Obviously, can maintain good initiative with Flip Turn, can get reliable recovery, can haze away stat boosts and things of the sort, and just spread some burns with Scald and things of the sort. So great Pokemon. I think it's a great glue piece, and it was honestly really cheap on this board, so I'll take it. And yeah, that being said, I think we could jump into our first game. Alrighty, here we are with our first game against MC here. You see they have a pretty scary squad here, consisting of Mega Delphox, which I think is probably one of the strongest Pokemon in a format like this, Kingambit, regular Gengar. They have their own Gliscor, Rotom Wash, and Greninja. So a pretty similar team, like at least there's similar ideas on a team like this, right? Strong Steel, double water with Gren, Gliscor to set up a bunch of hazards as well as a spin blocking option, which can be really annoying for our team. And then a really strong offensive Mega that I really don't have great counterplay to consistently. Let's talk about the team that I built really quick. I do have most of the pace for this run. A couple of them have been lost to the sands of time because I played them on my laptop or something like that. But regardless, we have a lead Gliscor here. It's max offense. It's an SD 2 attack stealth rocking variant with Earthquake, Power Up, Swords Dance, and Rocks. Rocks are incredibly important here, and you see my opponent doesn't actually have means of getting rid of them. So if I can get up Rocks guaranteed with my Sash, I'm going to be in a really good position at whittling down things like Delphox, as I don't really have great traditional defensive counterplay, but if I'm limiting the amount of times it can come in and do damage to me, I'm not going to be in as much of a terrible position. Power Up, obviously, for Pokemon like the Rotom, as well as a neutral hit into their opposing Gliscor if I need to kind of brute force through that thing, potentially. Our Milotic here is mostly a specially defensive variant, but a decent amount of Fizz Def for things like Psyshock, as well as Kingambit hits and things of the sort. Your Scald, Flip Turn, Recover, and Alluring Voice. Flip Turn is going to allow me to pivot out on said Delphox and get into Pokemon that can revenge it offensively. Scald just spreads burns, is actually really annoying for them to switch into. And Alluring Voice is to hit the Greninja as hard as humanly possible outside of just our Scald. Then we have a Calm Minding Kebia Berry Sylveon. I think it's actually quite strong. If we can get rid of things like the Gengar, not much really switches into this Hyper Voice, especially boosted. Delphox doesn't appreciate taking it plus rocks, and I do intend to have rocks up the entire game, so this Pokemon does feel quite strong. Kebia Berry for both, not only the Gengar, but more so the Greninja. If it wants to lock into like a Sludge Wave or a Gunk Shot and get the Protean boost, we can take that hit and hit it quite hard. And then we have Wish and Protect to keep ourselves and our teammates healthy. Then Mega Glimmora, quite strong Pokemon. We are pretty bulky in this game, but I'm still strong offensively here with Power Gems, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and Spikes. Our stabs hit absolutely everything. We can spike on 4 switches of Pokemon. Like, it has to be something pretty weakened, something like a Gengar potentially. Might be forced out by us. But really, we're going to be clicking our 3 attacking moves, and then the hazard option is maybe like an Last Ditch, like, hey, Rotom's low, I can revenge it or something else. Let's get a last Spike up, maybe a Spike will pick something off. Really, we're here to click Power Gem, Sludge Wave, and Earth Power. Then we have a Physical Scarf Greninja. I mean, technically mixed. I believe they also had a, did they have a Dragonite on the team? I'm not 100% sure. Well, we have Ice Beam for the Gliscor, but the rest of our team, moveset consists of Night Slash, Low Kick, and U-Turn. Low Kick, obviously, really nice for things like Kingambit and opposing Greninja. Night Slash is actually quite spammable into everything else, especially if we get up a Spike and our Rocks. It's quite hard to deal with Greninja. U-Turn, also very spammable. Things like Rotom coming in taking Rocks, U-Turn, Rocks, U-Turn. It's going to be in range of Night Slash pretty quickly. And then lastly, we have a Colbur Berry, Aegislash, Poltergeist, Close Combat, Shadow Sneak, and Swords Dance. Colbur is obviously really strong for the likes of Greninja, as well as the Kingambit. Having a priority Shadow Sneak to pick off weakened threats like Gengar and Delphox, as well as just a really strong Pokemon in general, is always going to be nice. Now, that being said, I think we could just jump right into it right here. We are going to lead off with our Gliscor as they do the same. Now, unfortunately, theirs is also Max V Gliscor, and it's Ice Fang. They don't get the flinch, thankfully, so we do get up our Stealth Rock. I am going to save my Gliscor right here. No reason to just sack it for fun, as they reveal Power Up after they set up Stealth Rock. Quite an unfortunate turn for them to miss that hit. We did live it, obviously, because we're pretty defensive on our Milotic, but not the end of the world. I do double out here just to sack my Gliscor to not have to take that Power Up damage and be weak to Delphox. Thankfully, I'm able to catch Rotom, and they actually give me 50% with my own Power Up. So getting chipped like that from my Greninja is absolutely incredible. The Rotom has show leftovers, but it should always be in range of a Power Gem here. So while I could have spiked here, I think getting the guaranteed kill on that thing, if it does decide to stay in, is worth it. Kingambit comes in, ticks Rocks plus Power Gem, and even though that's a very specially defensive variant, we don't actually take all, it doesn't actually take that all too well. We are going to see a Thunder Wave giving us our Marvel Scale, which is pretty funny, as we flip turn out, expecting this thing to want to pivot out itself. It's actually going to reveal a Swords Dance here, but I know that my Greninja can take this hit and always pick it off with the Low Kick. So we do go for said Low Kick, down goes Gliscor, and out comes Delphox here, knowing I'm either choice locked in or slower. So regardless, it's kind of a tough turn for me. I go out into my Milotic here, as it does give me an opportunity to take any potential hit from this Delphox and get a flip turn on out or a Scald. They do reveal Grass Knot, which does a ton of damage low-key, but the flip turn is going to allow me to reposition into my Greninja, and while he does have a switch in the Kingambit and the Rotom, they are going to be severely weakened by taking Rocks plus repeated hits. So Rotom's going to take a bunch of chip here, take 23. It is in range of another, does get out of range of Rocks here, but again, I'm not too worried about taking these hits consistently, or them taking these hits consistently. Kingambit is going to reveal Citrus Spray, which is a little bit annoying, but again, it's getting chipped down. I'm not all too worried about it. Down goes our Milotic to a Kowtow Cleave. I go into my Aegislash, really telegraphing what my item is here, but I'm completely fine with that. There's not a switch into Close Combat plus Shadow Sneak on this team, so I might as well take the opportunities I can to click that button. Greninja's going to come out here as I pivot onto my Sylveon and a Force Dark Pulse or Surf. They do end up Dark Pulsing here, showing off their Protean ability, and now here, again, it's just a Hyper Voice. Everything that wants to take these hits really doesn't like taking the hazard alongside it, showing how important Rocks are. Now, I am going to get Curse Bodied here. I probably would have switched anyways. I kind of have to, as the Gengar unfortunately reveals Substitute here, though, which means I do essentially have to sack my Glimmora, which is really bulky, so we'll always take this hit to secure that this thing does not have a Substitute up. Down we go to another Shadow Ball. As the next turn, I can go into my Aegislash, and again, there's not really anything that switches into Shadow Sneak plus Close Combat, so I am just going to click Sneak here on Gengar. This Curse Body is really unfortunate. because what this would have done otherwise is it forces him one of the dark types, right? Either Greninja or Kingambit. This Delphox obviously can't take a Shadow Sneak from here, but which I think I actually pivot around accordingly a little bit better. Plus, I can click a Close Combat and really put them in an uncomfortable position because neither of these Pokemon actually kill me from here. Plus, I'm likely faster than this Max Def Kingambit anyways with the speed investment that I have. Quite an unfortunate turn because now I am forced into my Greninja, which is basically just a sack here. They do end up clicking Flamethrower instead of a coverage move though, which is really nice. I make a little bit of an overplay and click Low Kick, though it doesn't matter too much because it either covered one of the dark types coming in or it just allows me to switch back into my Aegislash, in which I can kind of checkmate him here with a Shadow Sneak. We're going to see Greninja come back out, and once again, I'm in a position where I can just Close Combat, because if they Surf, I will live, Close Combat and Sneak kills. If they Dark Pulse, I'll eat my Colbur, I'll live, Close Combat kills, or if they U-turn out into Kingambit, Close Combat also kills. So my best play here is just to click CC. I need to claim a KO on like this turn / the next. They do end up U-turning, which we do take quite well, obviously. Supreme Overlord's going to pop, but it's not going to matter all too much as we do Close Combat it and pick it off right here. So down goes that Pokemon. Last up is just Greninja. I just need to see what this thing locks into. It's going to end up clicking Protein Boosted Surf, and because it did, regardless of what it has coverage options, if it's like Gunk Shot or Sludge Wave, I'll live because it's non-stab with my Kebia, and I'll be able to knock this out with Hyper Voice, able to take home a win in our first Pools game. Now, because of this win, in our next 2 games, just got to win one more. Just got to win one more. This game got a little bit sticky. I know it was only 1-0, but I actually felt pretty in control most of the game. I think if I don't get Curse Spotted on my AG, I win like 2-0 or 3-0. But a win's a win. I don't give a damn about the diff. So we'll take it. We'll move on to the next one. Alright, second game we are going to go against. I believe their name on Smogon at least was Sibwin. At least that's what my pace in my team builder says. Really, really scary team. In particular, Mega Lopunny is such an issue for a team like mine. Though I do feel like I have decent responses to everything else. Samurott Hisuiya actually is also another Pokemon I don't switch into quite well. But beyond that, Sneasler, I have an incredible check in my Gliscor. I'm not too worried about Excadrill as well. My Gliscor is honestly just incredibly powerful in this game. So this is something to keep in mind. I think that Pokemon is really good here. And does a ton of damage to a team like this. But yeah, let's take a look and see what we have in this battle. First up is going to be our Aegislash. We are a Colbur Berry variant. And again, not only the Gliscor, but also our Aegislash is a really good Sneasler check. But regardless, we are a Colbur Berry variant. Once again, can let us lure things like the Samurott Hisuiya, as well as take a Throat Chop from Boosted Sneasler if we need to. We are Shadow Ball, Close Combat, Shadow Sneak, and King Shield. A little bit more of a defensive variant. Or at least a bulky offensive variant, not worried about SDing or having any speed in this. Just a strong mixed attacking variant. Then we have a Scarf Greninja. This time we are pretty much full special here. Surf, U-turn, Sludge Wave, and Extra Sensory. In this battle, Extra Sensory gives me like a nuke on things like the Sneasler, as well as it's the strongest move I can use to hit something like Mega Lopunny. And then we just U-turn around forever on pretty much everything else. Surf Endgame is actually very possible with this Pokemon here. Then we have a sub Swords Dance Gliscor. We are still Poison Heal, we are Citrus Berry, but if we can sub up on Pokemon like Excadrill switching, Sneasler switching, or the Rotom Heat trying to burn us with a Will-O-Wisp, we're going to be in a really good spot. We are Earthquake, Rock Slide as our coverage, as well as Swords Dance to boost up and do a ton of damage. Obviously, have to be careful about a Triple Axle Mega Lopunny, but they have to come hard in on me clicking an attack, or like have to call me SDing in that instance. And if they come hard in on an Earthquake, that's a great trade for me, so not the end of the world. Then we have our Mega Glimmora here. We are a 3 attacks Rock Polish variant with Sludge Wave, Power Gem, Earth Power, and Rock Polish. If we can get up a Polish and things like Excadrill are chipped down and weakened, as well as something like Samurott, or we remain out of range of an Aqua Jet from Samurott, this Pokemon can really put in some crazy work and win. We have a physically defensive Milotic here with Scald, Protect, Recover, and Alluring Voice. Protect allows us to get past certain breakpoints with like Mega Lopunny, Close Combat, and things of the sort. Alluring Voice is their move to hit it the absolute hardest, as well as a Samurott. This thing does check Samurott as well, though it does let it get up a bunch of spikes, which can be pretty unfortunate. And for that, we have a physically defensive Serena with Power Up, U-turn, Synthesis, and a Rapid Spin. The Power Up damage plus our Miracle Seed item was important for a certain calc. I don't remember if it was Excadrill or not, or if it was something like Hatterene, maybe a 2-hit KO on defensive. Whatever it may be, solid Pokemon nonetheless, and can do some decent damage here. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this one went. We did lead off with our Greninja here as it led well into really anything and threatened a lot of the things on their team. They are going to go ahead and take a big U-turn here on Samurott as they do get into my Serena. I will take a lot from this Ceaseless Edge, honestly a ridiculous amount of damage, but I do find the position to Rapid Spin immediately on said switch out into Rotom. I'm able to U-turn, get off a little bit of chip here as Discharge does pop. I make an incredibly over-aggressive play and I get punished for it. This was just a bad play. Like literally just a bad play. In my mind, I figured Overheat / Will-O-Wisp would end up coming out, but because of that, I'm super punished. I think my best mid-ground is probably something like Glimmora, though I did risk a Discharge pair in that instance. Not much I can do there. Gonna be in a bad spot and immediately looking bad into this Rotom here, as they're actually going to reveal Substitute as a sub of my own. I'm going to go ahead and Rock Slide this turn. Not much of a reason to SD right now when I'm behind the sub, as they are going to go ahead and take a little bit of damage. Hatterene is going to come out as I just click a raw Earthquake, expecting either it or Lopunny to come in and threaten me. Thankfully, our offensive set is going to be able to Twit KO Hat right here. Next up, Samurott comes out and just flip turn out. I think Ceaseless Edge did Twit KO me, which would have been even worse position because Spike would have went up, but I'll end up taking it as a U-turn does pop from the Caesar, back out to Samurott, which again, unfortunate, but we can pivot back out into our Serena, basically sack it off as 2 spikes end up going up. I didn't want to risk Scarf on my Gliscor there. Obviously, I am fast, and you see it is going to be a Scarf variant, but I am going to be able to pick it off with an Earthquake here and put myself in an okay position. This Pokemon is still strong into the likes of Excadrill and Rotom here. Lopunny's going to come out. It's going to reveal Swords Dance, a new tool that I ended up getting. I'm only going to do just about 50 as a Facade is going to knock me out, and honestly, from this position, we're kind of screwed. Close Combat plus really anything. Close Combat plus anything on this team is just going to kind of beat me at this point. I'm going to Protect here, give myself as much of a chance as possible to live a Close Combat. They actually just show Facade, so they must not have CC. They're going to do 54 here, which is a decent chunk, that's for sure, as I click Alluring Voice. It's a bit unfortunate because I think I could have potentially stalled this out a little bit. Though eventually they just get a Swords Dance on one of my Protector, one of my Protect or my Recover turns, and then they do just kind of blow me up. But I'm going to click Protect here. Facade's going to do obviously nothing, but we're going to be in range of the last one. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I lose, right? Or are they not Close Combat? What's going on? I guess maybe at this point I'm too tilted to even think about that. I go into my Glimmora and I try and play off them choking and not clicking Close Combat and clicking like Facade or Swords Dance or whatever it may be. And I actually Rock Polish as they Mach Punch. And again, I don't think it mattered at this point. I can't win the game between Excadrill, Rotom, or anything like that. But Rock Polishing definitely isn't going to do it for me. I can't live 2 of these, unfortunately. We're going to die to a second one. Crit didn't matter. And then the game's just going to wrap up right here. So a little bit tough. I think hindsight, I played this game very, very poorly. I think I got tilted super easy, as you're going to see right here. And that's on me. I think understanding that it didn't Close Combat there, and then maybe using it as an opportunity to get into my Aegislash and then revenge the Lopunny in that manner, then maybe we force in something like Excadrill can get a Sneak Off, break a Sash, or chip it down in range of Earth Power, and then maybe win with our Glimmora. But regardless, not a well-played game for me, not a well-prepped game for me. We got our ass beat because of it. So we're going to drop to 1-1, making our last game a win-in for brackets. Alrighty, here we are with our last game of pools here. We are playing up against someone named Hydra. At least that was their Smogon name here. They have the ever-dreaded, at least in doubles, Mega Flood, though I don't think it's as strong in singles because it just plays a little bit slow, and I think in particular my matchup into it is quite good, and I see I have a lot of prep dedicated to it. The first Pokemon we see here is going to be our Aegislash. We are a Poltergeist variant, Close Combat, Shadow Sneak, and King Shield. Really, really strong Pokemon. It's leftovers here, just to be able to switch into Mega Floette consistently and get some health back. But the combination of Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, and Close Combat is unbelievably powerful in this game. It hits their team incredibly, incredibly hard. Then we have a Focus Sash lead Greninja. I believe their only removal on this team was like a Noivern that they didn't end up bringing. So we are just a Surf, Ice Beam, Grass Knot, Spikes variant. We see that there is no Noivern. They don't have any way of getting rid of our Spikes. So we're going to lead this and try and get up as many Spikes as humanly possible here. here. As that plus our next member in Mega Glimmora is just unguardable. We are Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Power Gem, and Spiky Shield on this set. It is going to be kind of our main way of really breaking down this team once we get our spikes up. Spiky Shield is an interesting one. The Aegislash on the other side, if it wants to attack into me, it's one, if it's a physical move, going to take a little bit of chip from Spiky Shield, but two, going to put it in a position where it has to be in its blade form, in which it will not take Earth Power well after some chip, especially after some spikes, and if I can confirm that it's not like a Shuka variant or anything like that. Then we have a physically defensive Serena once again, Dropkick, U-turn, knockoff, and rapid spin. This time we are a Citrus Berry variant, or to get some burst healing back. I want to be able to get rid of the Samurot's hazards as well as pivot into it. Knockoff is going to get rid of the Aegislash item. A little bit unfortunate for my own Aegislash, but I'm not too worried about my AG needing to hit their AG, if that makes any sense. Then we have a pretty interesting one and a really bulky Choice Scarf Gliscor. 25 EVs or stat points, or whatever they're called in Pokemon Champions here. But we're Earthquake, Gunk Shot, U-turn, and Ice Fang. Ice Fang was for the Gliscor that didn't, or the Noivern that didn't end up coming, as well as the it's a move that hits the Rotom a little bit more accurately. Earthquake is really strong otherwise. If you look at their team, Earthquake is very, very powerful, and Gunk Shot gives me a nuke on Mega Floette. Like, I just OHKO Mega Floette. Doesn't have enough fish left to take that hit. And if we can hit that move, it just goes bye-bye, which I think is really cool. Really strong offensive Revenger here, and it can revenge, like, weekend Scarf Samurott, which is something I struggled with in our last game we saw. Then lastly, we have a mixed defensive Milotic, special defensive boosting nature, but max HP, max Fizz Def pretty much. We are Scald, Flip Turn, Haze, and Recover. Haze is going to give me access to, like, get rid of any boost that the Mega Floette might go for if it is like a Calm Minding variant. Flip Turn gives me momentum, and then Scald just to spread burns and be annoying. Flip Turn is obviously great alongside our hazards here as well. So yeah, that being said, I think we can just kind of jump right into it here. We are going to lead off with our Greninjas. They lead Infernape. I'm Sash, so I'm not worried about them staying in, even if they do. They are worried about Scarf potentially blowing them up, or maybe they're not Scarf themselves, as I can just kind of click a bunch of spikes, as Reuniclus is actually going to be the switch in. Show me it's a very specially defensive variant. They're going to show the Psychic Noise here as I get up my third spike and stack Greninja, but again, this is a really, really solid position for me, as Aegislash is going to come in here. Rotom is going to be the pivot of choice as I Poltergeist. They bring a cool set and actually have no item on their Rotom, really allowing it to check my set well. Now, close combats will still chunk this thing. Shadow Sneak will still do a lot of damage too if we get boosted up, but we can't Poltergeist as freely anymore, which is good to know at least, right? Now, I make a really, really bad play. You can tell I have not used AG since Generation 8 right here, and I King Shield. There was no reason to do this, right? I forgot that obviously you just don't block status moves with King Shield. And I'm going to take a burn. This is honestly an incredibly embarrassing turn. Looking back, I got my ass beat in the last game, and this game feels worse because I made such a terrible play. I'm going to pivot into Gliscor here, so I don't expect double Wisp. I'm going to get off a U-turn right here, chip it down, as I'm assuming another Wisp will come out here. It does into my Glimmora, but again, this is fine. There's nothing that switches into this Pokemon right here. Reuniclus is actually going to show to be Regenerator here, but not an Assault Vest variant, because that's not in the game. And Sludge Wave is just going to do 51% to it, as I click Earth Power here, knowing it'll pick this off, as well as hit Aegislash as hard as humanly possible as well. AG is going to be the switch in of choice, as I do show off my Spiky Shield right here. It does show me a Shadow Ball, and again, they don't really take this hit super well on anything on their team. They're actually going to pivot out, showing that they weren't Shuka Berry or anything of the sort into Rotom, but again, I can just click Sludge Wave. There's not really anywhere my opponent can go from here, or Power Gem, because there's not really anywhere my opponent can go from here. And now I can just click Power Gem again. I don't have to worry about clicking Spiky Shield. I don't have to worry about clicking Earth Power into Shuka because it is so weakened, or anything like that. Samurott is going to be the switch in of choices. I pivot hard into Serena. The reason I did this is because I didn't want to Spiky Shield and allow like a free Swords Dance. I think that's one of the few ways this game can go wrong. If I let this thing Swords Dance for free and then have to switch into it, I'm going to be in a really, really tough position. So we block a Sucker Punch there with our Queenly Majesty, as Infernape's going to come out, and while it might only take 7% from a U-turn, this triple spike is showing to be incredibly, incredibly potent. They're going to U-turn themselves on my Milotic, as I actually do just end up clicking Scald. If I get beta burn on anything, I'm going to be in a good spot. Rotom does end up getting burned, which is, again, great for me. And I know I'm especially defensive enough to where I can take this hit very comfortably and just get a big flip turn out, as Floette does come in on a Volt Switch, take some chip via flip turn, which is also really good for me. Out comes my Gliscor, and they show off the tech. Gunk Shot covers this staying in, as well as them going into Rotom. Gunk Shot does hit the Mega Floette, and down it goes. Out comes Samurott right here. Again, not too big of a deal. We still have our full health Serena. Ceaseless Edge is going to miss, which I do feel bad for. But again, not the end of the world. We are max Fizz-Def. I don't think they're Sharpness, by the way. I think they actually didn't have that, which is funny. But Not the end of the world. Infernape's going to be the switch of choice. They're actually going to U-turn, trying to get some kind of momentum to get back in the game. But I don't need Serena for anything at this point. Rotom's so chipped. I'm able to just U-turn on it. Out comes Gliscor. We U-turn on it again. Good old singles draft league. Even in Champions, we just click U-turn. That's it. That's all we got to do. As we get a little bit of leftovers back. Infernape can't lock a move that will win it the game. It actually clicks Flare Blitz here, really, as it's the only somewhat chance it would have, I suppose. But we're just able to click Scald here, live that hit, and pick it off and take home a win, 5-0. A lot better. I'm still incredibly embarrassed about that Aegislash play. Do not get me wrong. It really hurts me that I made such a stupid play. But the rest of the team was constructed really, really well, I think. So can't be too upset, especially after getting my ass beat the game before. And with this, we moved on to, I believe it was top 256 initially. I think that's what the top bracket ended up like rounding out to. So let's go ahead and take a look at that game. Alrighty, here is our first bracket game. Top 256, I want to say, against P is for Penguin here. Pretty scary team they have right here. In particular, that Weavile is quite scary for me to switch into defensively. I know I have like my starter core that actually should theoretically switch in, but they don't, unless you're a very bulky Infernape, which I think is a little bit of a waste here. We have a Mega Dragonite, which is quite scary into our team. Blastoise, which is Thanos in this kind of format, though I think my team in particular actually handles it quite well. Tinkaton, Slowking Galar, and then Infernape, which I actually do not handle quite well. I don't actually have the pace for this team anymore. I looked for it all over the place in between recording these last two games, and I can't find it anywhere, though I do remember a good majority of the team. I believe we are once again a hazard setting lead Greninja with a really, really specially defensive spin blocking Aegislash. I don't expect Shell Smash Blasters, but we can take a +2 hit if we need to, as well as spin block any normal spinning Blastoise as well. Pretty comfortably, at least early in the game, which I think is nice. We have a Swords Dancing Gliscor, which I think is quite strong here. Swords Dance EQ Ice Fang is just ridiculously powerful into this opposing team. Obviously, the Yashi Berry that we have isn't for Gliscor, but for something like Mega Dragonite with Ice Beam, we can take the hit quite well, as well as something like Slowking that might want to Ice Beam us, as well as something like Tinkaton, which might want to Ice Hammer us, or Blastoise that might want to Ice Beam. There's lots of stray ice coverage that can kind of deal with us, but honestly, we are really strong offensively, and if we can get up a +2 boost, not much is going to take us on, or there's going to be Pokemon to take us on, but we're going to get 1 or 2 before it ends up happening, at least, so I like that a lot. We're very physically defensive Milotic here with Dragon Tail, as well as no item to take on the Weavile. I believe we're no item to take on the Weavile as well as possible. Also check things like Infernape, which is really, really nice. And then I'm forgetting a Glimmora set. I think we might just be Rock Polish 3 or just like 3 attacks plus spikes or something like that. So yeah, that being said, let's jump into it. So we are going to be lead Greninja into the Weavile. It's actually going to just immediately click Triple Axle. That's fine with me. U-turning there would have been pretty nice, but regardless, I get off a spike here. I'm going to switch out because I don't want to just sack this for no reason, and I know my Milotic can take this thing on quite well. So we are going to get into said Milotic here, take the hit pretty well. Knockoff is going to come out. You see, it only does 27. We get off a really free Scald. You can beta burn into anything, so I'm not worried about flip turning and maintaining momentum. They actually don't switch into Milotic quite well. So we do just get off a Scald here, as they do Chilly Reception with their Slowking. Not the end of the world as they get into my Gliscor, and Dragonite is going to be the switch of choice. I do switch to Milotic because it still has my main response to this Pokemon, as it actually ends up clicking Dragon Dance, which would be terrifying if I didn't have access to Dragon Tail on this set. So I'm really glad I ended up bringing that, which also racks up some Spike Chip on everything else in the team. I'm going to go into my Greninja, as I do just want to sack it off to a close combat. They don't end up clicking it, so maybe they think they can't kill me. Regardless, I can always find a recover turn on potentially Weavile, as well as Slowking and non-taunt Tinkaton, and actually I don't think Tinkaton gets taunt, so plenty of chances to get off and recover with Milotic. I do make the more offensive positioning go Infernape, because it's going to allow me to U-turn and better position my Gliscor here, because now with this thing's multi-scale broken, their initial response to Gliscor is Dragonite. We're going to be in a really good spot once we get a Swords Dance up. They are going to reveal to be faster and have the Ice Spinner, but we take it quite well and pop an Ice Fang and just blow this guy up. So immediately getting rid of one of the bigger threats to me is great. They go into Weavile, and I can just sack this thing off to get a free switch, but also, Gliscor is really strong here. Just clicking Earthquake, I never have to Swords Dance again. Every Pokemon on this team takes a fat chunk from Max Attack Earthquake, so I might as well save this. I'm not quite expecting a knockoff. I know that my Infernape at least isn't too KO'd by Weavile, except to get a crit right there is a little scary. But now I can just position, once again, just a nice strong U-turn. Slowking can come in all it likes, but now I have that Gliscor opportunity to come in and just click Earthquake. And you see the Slowking just drops because that's Max Attack. Weavile is going to come out once again. I do end up deciding to sack it here because I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to have to click Earthquake now that Slowking is dead. But they actually end up missing, and Gliscor gets its third casualty of the game here. Very, very lucky turn for me. Blastoise is going to come out here, and again, I'm always going to go Aegislash. It covers a Rapid Spin here. It also covers a Shell Smash. I can take a +2 hit, Shadow Ball, and Sneak and kill it. You'll see Surf does barely anything to me from there, from that really defensive variant. Shadow Ball myself does 52, which is pretty crazy. I'm going to get a little bit of recovery back from this King Shield. Not really expecting Shell Smash at this point. And from here, I can just once again click a Shadow Ball and knock this guy out, which is, again, really, really good for me. Infernape's going to be a switching of choice. I don't necessarily need my Aegislash anymore. I might as well get off a Shadow Sneak, put this thing in range of whatever I have in the back, as well as get a free switch out into my own Infernape. Because they clicked Fire Punch, I know they can't kill me with anything, even if they're Scarf. I win a tie for Scarf, which is solid. Knock it out with a close combat. And from here, Tinkaton can take the hit. I might as well save a little bit of differential. We're going to go into our Gliscor, or at least try and save some diff. We're going to click Earthquake. Unfortunately, it is going to be a Shuka variant, so we're not going to be able to save the diff that I wanted. But Infernape's going to come back in and clean this one up. So honestly, really offensive game plan that ended up working out well. Milotic popped off and really held the team together. Gliscor is once again showing that it's still a very strong Pokemon, even when it doesn't have access to its best tool, Toxic Orb. So I'll take it. And yeah, let's jump on to top 128. Alrighty, our next game is against Clutch Sometimes, which is a really cool name to play. Clutch was a player that I played a ton way back in the day when I first started playing Draft League back in Generation 7. So it's always fun playing people you haven't played in 5, 6, 7 years, you know? So this was really cool to play him. He had a pretty cool team this tournament. Once again, playing Weavile, which is a little bit tough, as well as the Mega Floette, which can be a big issue. Lots of hazards. Mega Blasters, or regular Blasters, also very annoying. To potentially deal with defensively, or offensively, and since I don't break it super well with the team that I ended up bringing, but we'll see what we end up having. My idea here is going to be a bunch of hazards and a bunch of momentum with an Infernape win condition here. So first up, we do have our Glimmora here. It's going to be a Stealth Rocking variant with Power Gem and Sludge Wave. We actually don't have Earth Power on the set because we don't hit, we hit the Slowking still very hard with Power Gem. It's not like we can hit the Steel type with Earth Power anyway, so I actually have a cool tech option in Memento. Memento is actually going to allow me to set up with a member later on my team in my Infernape a little bit easier depending on what we end up Mementoing on and finding a free opportunity to do so. So I really do like Memento on this guy. It's really strong otherwise, forces very specific switch-ins, gets up our rocks. Once again, Choice Scarf Gliscor, EQ Ice Fang, U-Turn Gunk Shot. Decent coverage outside of the Orthworm. I'm really hoping that the pressure that we put on Orthworm with Pokemon like Glimmora will chip it down to where maybe we can win with an Earthquake endgame. Regardless, it's a good revenge kill to something like Floette. Good revenge kill to something like Gliscor as well with our own Ice Fang. Physically defensive, no item Milotic. Pretty simple. Scald, Flip Turn, Recover, and Ice Beam. Very simple stuff. A especially defensive, like mixed offense Mon in Aegislash, Shadow Ball, Iron Head, King Shield, and Shadow Sneak. Decent special defense investment with like a boosting nature, but really strong, especially offensively as well. There's not really a switch into Shadow Ball plus Iron Head on Clutch's team, so being able to click that non-stop is really nice. Citrus Berry and Infernape, like I said, is going to be our kind of main like big breaker guy in win condition. Flare Blitz, Close Combat, Mach Punch, and Sword Sense. Citrus Berry is really nice in case we take a little bit of chip while setting up, keeping us out of range of priority moves like Ice Shard from Weavile, which can actually definitely happen, especially with Close Combat boosts and Flare Blitz dropping our HP and things of the sort. Mach Punch is a great way of revenging Weavile in general, which I think is really nice, as well as like anything faster than us, like I guess just the Weavile in this instance. Beyond that, once we get up to +2, if I can get some chip on things like Blastoise, and some chip on some things like Gliscor and Slowking, this Pokemon does just kind of win on its own. And then we have a Focus Sash leading Greninja. My idea is that they should not be able to spin very often as long as I'm positioning well. So if we get up spikes early, we're going to be a good spot. We're actually Torrent on this set because I don't really want to change my typing very often on this team. So I want to keep Stab on both Dark Pulse and Surf, depending on if I need to switch moves or not. So yeah, with that being said, I think we can just kind of jump right into it. We are going to go ahead and see our lead Greninja into lead Blastoise. Tough lead for sure, as I do just click Dark Pulse here, get off 33. And again, getting enough damage on Blastoise is really nice for things like Infernape. This 33% means I kill you with +2 close combat now. So good trade nonetheless, even if I don't end up getting a spike out of it, as Floette ends up coming out. We go into our Aegislash, as I know I can take any hit from this thing. If it wants to CM, I have an Iron Head to hit it. They unfortunately crit me with Moonblast, which pushed me back in like the HP war a little bit, as Gliscor is going to come in and I click Shadow Ball, knowing that it's just a little bit stronger and I don't expect Floette to stay in and, you know, try and Calm Mind when I could just Iron Head it. I'm going to make the play into my Gliscor here as they do, or my Greninja here, as they do end up U-turning with their Gliscor. Solid play, letting them get into Weavile, as Knockoff is going to do a decent chunk. Not enough to 2-hit KO me, though, as I do get off my Flip Turn, expecting Slowking to come in. And this is going to give me my opportunity to Spike here, as I do end up just clicking Spike into this Blastoise coming in. Now, right here, I make a little bit of an overplay. In my mind, I'm thinking there's not really a universe where you should try and Spike or Rapid Spin away, because all it does is it gives me Aegislash, gives me leftovers, and puts you in a tough spot switching into Shadow Ball, whereas either Surf or Flip Turn is going to maintain initiative, chip down the Aegislash, and get you back into this game a little bit more offensively, especially with my Milo a little bit chipped. So I do just click Dark Pulse, expecting them to not spin, and unfortunately, does end up spinning. Tough turn. I'm like, okay, surely I can Spike here as they kill me, but he makes a small play and Rapid Spins. I think the first play was a little bit questionable to spin. Like, not like, I can't believe you did this, you're terrible, but I think that was a little bit of aggressive. This second turn where I Spike, that was just stupid. If I'm going to stay in and sack my Greninja, I should try and get off Dark Pulse chip. 100% try and get off Dark Pulse chip, because then this thing is super low. Now it's still at 60%, which is definitely very, very annoying. I'm able to get into my Milotic here and position a Recover turn, which is obviously really nice. And something I'm noticing big time is they actually do not break this Pokemon particularly well, as I do just stay in and bait a Scald Burn on this Slowking. A little bit risky in case it was a Toxic variant, but I'll take the chip nonetheless, as I Flip Turn out right here as a Future Sight is in the air, and we're going to see a Chilly Reception, getting its regen back and getting a free pivot out into something like the Weavile. Now, with the Future Sight in the air, it's a little bit of an awkward turn trying to get into Milotic, as Future Sight plus Knockoff will put me into a KO range. So I do click a King Shield, as they do end up just clicking Knockoff here. I am able to drop this guy as I make it pivot into my Milotic, as Gliscor ends up coming in. Again, totally fine with me, because there's really just not a switch into the move Scald at all at this point. Mega Floette's going to be the switch in of choice, but if I can bait a burn on this thing, it'd be in a good spot. We actually do end up getting off 80% on it, or 20% on it, bringing it down to 80. And I'm going to get into my Aegislash, get a special attack drop, which is a little bit annoying because it makes this Shadow Ball incredibly weak. So I feel a little bit more pressured to click Iron Head. They do end up pivoting Blastoise, which not the end of the world, totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and King Shield right here. Again, trying to farm a little bit of leftovers as a Flip Turn tries to pop. Not able to obviously get out there, as I do get into my Milotic here. Surf comes out, again, totally fine with me. We know this is a very, very defensive Blastoise. I can't really do anything to threaten my Milotic at all. So I do just click Scald here, get off 11%, trying to bait a burn, don't get it unfortunately, as Orthrum's going to come in. Now this is an interesting play because obviously Orthrum doesn't beat my Milotic. But their idea is probably, I need to get up some spikes, I need to get up some hazards in order to pressure this Milotic and Aegislash from switching forever. But I'm okay with that, because I can't really stop that spike from happening, but I can get off 33% with a Scald and potentially bait a burn. If they don't get it, I am going to expect to pivot out into Slowking this turn, as they do switch into it right here. And this one I get in my Aegislash and I click Shadow Ball, but this is a good lure from Clutch. This is actually just going to be a Cassid Berry variant with Flamethrower as an option, allowing it to pick me off with a Flamethrower. And that's going to be my Aegislash down, which is, again, a really bad loss. We're not in the greatest position right now. Slowking is going to be the pivot of choice, as I do end up just clicking U-turn, expecting either Gliscor or the Orthrum to come in, as this does give me a Milotic switch in, allowing me to click a really, really strong Scald here, or just Recover up, as you can do just Recover. Yeah, as this Gliscor hasn't shown to be any kind of toxic variant. I can once again just Scald, try and bait a burn. I'm not able to get a burn on the Blastoise again, which is quite annoying, but again, not the end of the world, that's for sure. Calm Mind is going to come out here, as I believe I do click a nice and strong Flip Turn. This is going to allow me into my Gliscor again, and instead of switching out Scouting, they are just going to drop to the Scarf Gunk Shot, which is cool. That worked twice in the tournament as a lure to the Mega Floette. So down it goes. Orthrum is going to be the switch in of choice. It does see an opportunity to get up free spikes, as I do get a Scald Burn. Unfortunately, it shows Lum, but again, this is really, really good chip for something like my Mega Glimmora and my Gliscor in the back to potentially win. So I am just going to keep spamming Scald. The Slowking is pretty darn chipped at this point because of the Shadow Ball it took earlier, as they do click Future Sight, but once again, there's not a switch into Scald that really can do anything to me in return. This Blastoise took a lot of chip early from Gren. It's going to get burned here, and I can just waste a Recover turn, as this thing's going to Flip Turn out, so I can take this Future Sight as well as possible, and yeah, once again, not really be in a bad spot against this Weavile. It is going to go ahead and click a Swords Dance right here, as I believe I do end up recovering up to full. From here, I do have to click a flip turn. Obviously, 3 spikes up, which is really unfortunate. Maybe I can find a recover turn on something like Blastoise or Earthworm. But regardless, I'm not going to lose to this Pokemon right now here, as I do have my Mach Punch priority in order to pick off the Weavile. Out comes Gliscor next, as I do end up pivoting into my own Gliscor. And they're going to show me Earthquake and unfortunately reveal Protect right here. Otherwise, getting a surprise Ice Fang KO would have been really, really nice for me. And they're going to get a little bit of leftovers back, as I am a little bit more forced to just sack my Milotic here. They make a pivot into Weavile. This covers them wanting to, like, stay in. Or pivot in as I, like, Ice Fanged, and then I'm in a bad spot because I lose a bunch of momentum. I get onto my Infernape here, and I see this as an opportunity. You're going to switch. You don't want to sack your Weavile. That totally wins soon. I'm going to Swords Dance up, and unless this is the most physically defensive Gliscor ever, we should kill it and win the game. We do Flare Blitz, and it is the most physically defensive Gliscor ever, and the Protect really coming up clutch here, you know, letting him get out of range of that just barely. And at this point, I think it's over, right? I really do think it's over. But then Clutch makes a very interesting play here and goes hard into his Earthworm, which I found incredibly, incredibly interesting. Because you don't really need the Gliscor to be a ground immunity because you have Earthworm as a ground immunity, right? So going hard into this guy's 2-hit KO'd by Power Gem from here, right? This does a ridiculous amount of damage, down to 31. I'm able to KO this. Now I'm just like, okay, wait a minute. You don't have a Pokemon that can really immediately threaten me. This Slowking is very likely to not have a move to hit me other than Future Sight, and I still have a sack in my Gliscor potentially. I don't know if you have enough pivots. Plus, at this range, what was this guy at? Because I make a really aggressive play here that I have to kind of showcase. This is in range at 40%. This can't take this hit, so I'm actually going to make a really aggressive play and Stealth Rock up. Because if it Future Sights, then I can go ahead and, you know, try and kill it the next turn. What I expect to happen here is this Slowking will just die to a Power Gem. I'm really expecting a Regen Pivot and Gliscor to come in on the next turn. And if I can get up the Stealth Rock right here, we're going to be in a really, really good position to potentially even just knock out the Slowking depending on the spread after this. So I do end up just clicking Power Gem, knock out the Gliscor. 60% Slowking comes back in. The Weavile doesn't kill me from here. Power Gem still isn't quite enough, but they only have the Future Sight to kill me. So they are going to go ahead and go down. Out comes Weavile. You're going to see it's going to try and click Triple Axle here. If it gets a crit on the last one, it will win. But it ends up missing. We click Power Gem, and we're able to sneak this one out. I felt bad after because of the miss, but again, looking back at it, I didn't die to that hit ever. I think the big blunder and misplay from Clutch, and obviously I think I talked to him afterwards, and he knew this, but clicking, what do you call it? Going hard Earthworm just kind of brought me back into the game, and our Memento Glamora that never clicked Memento was able to bring this one back and sneak us a win here in a 50-turn battle, by the way. Jeez. Milotic, big MVP this game, though. Absolutely popped off, and yeah, we'll take it, and from here we move on to top 64. Alrighty, next up we're playing, I don't know how to say their name, I'm just going to spell it, IDYLL. They have a really, really scary team here. It's actually Mega Charizard Y, which is pretty darn cool. Alongside Excadrill, which means we can't really, like, block their spin if they're trying to keep hazards away. On top of regular Dragonite, Meowscarada, Cofagrigus, shout out Dookie, and their own Glamora to set up a bunch of hazards. So really, really powerful team. I love seeing some Zard Y action. You guys know it's one of my favorite Pokemon in Draft League singles, which is funny because, like, as someone who's been playing a lot of doubles recently, Zard Y is like Thanos. He's the greatest mon of all time. Really not the greatest Pokemon of all time in singles, right? So, like, it's cool seeing, like, the underrated Charizard in singles, you know, pop up here. So, pretty fun one. I don't have the pace for this offhand, unfortunately. I do know that we're a Taunt lead Greninja with Focus Sash, Counter, Surf, and I believe Spikes as our last move. Really meant to, like, catch things like a lead Meowscarada off guard, as well as Taunt and stop Glamora from setting up and being a big, or setting up hazards and being a big nuisance in its own right. I believe we are a offensive, just 3 attacks, or King Shield, Aegislash as well. Does pretty well offensively. I believe we're Shukaberry for things like Dragonite. We have a defensive Infernape. I really wish we could run a Rocky Helmet. Really, the Meowscarada is the biggest issue. I have absolutely nothing for that Pokemon, so we are forced to go a really defensive variant. I believe we are Slack off 3 attacks with Fire Punch, Mach Punch and Stone Edge to hit the Charizard. We still are faster than the Charizard. It also hits things like Dragonite well, which is pretty cool. We have a Mega Glimmora. I believe we are just like a Rock Polish 3 set. I think it does really, really well offensively if we can chip down things like Excadrill. And then a really defensive Toxic Stealth Rocking Gliscor as well. I believe Leftovers variant to check things like Excadrill, which can be a big issue for us. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. We see Greninja lead into Glimmora. I am just once again going to taunt, keeping away hazards is really big. Stealth Rock staying away is really nice for me as I do get off a big Surf, bring this thing down 65%. I do unfortunately get poisoned though, not the end of the world. As Cofagrigus is then gonna come out and honestly break for me because I am once again Torrent Gren. 2 times we've gotten Torrent Gren this tour, which is really silly. But again, I really want to keep my type here with my Surf, but I also wanted to because Surf is like my only attacking move. But I also wanted to be able to taunt turn 1, not lose stab. I wanted to be able to spike turn 1, not lose stab, things like that. So Torrent actually coming up really clutch here, as we're just going to be able to 2-hit KO this Cofagrigus and hit anything on the switch in really hard. Even Dragonite doesn't want to take that boosted scale for fun. As Excadrill is going to come out right here, I really do wish I made this pivot out and kept this sack. I really wanted to punish an aggressive Rocks here, so I'm going to sack off Greninja and get the information that this is going to be a Choice Scarf Excadrill, which I wasn't super expecting in this game. You're going to see that kind of bites me in the ass here, as I do get into my Gliscor here as a Toxic on the Dragonite coming in. It DDs up, and again, what I'm really not respecting right now, and I think I'm really, really struggling with, is I'm not respecting this Excadrill endgame, because I do have a little bit unsafe of pivots, but I have pivots into Ice Spinner / Ice Punch. You see it's Ice Punch for some reason in Milotic and Aegislash, but I end up staying in here and just dying. So I think this was just, again, quite a terrible play on my end, as they do just end up going down here. My AG is going to be able to take this Sugar Berry EQ. I think I was worried about it DDing again, but again, you see my AG takes this hit well, and I'm able to Shadow Ball afterwards, and Shadow and Sneak would kill this thing. They're going to pivot into their Meowscarada on my Sneak. Just an unfortunate turn all around, to be completely honest with you, as the knockoff is going to hit here. Knockoff is going to go ahead and weaken this thing here. I go into my Infernape, as a U-turn does end up popping into me, which is fine, but there's really not the greatest to switch into this thing. Right here, I'm expecting a potential Rapid Spin for the Zard, but again, I think that's just a bad play. I know that my Milotic can take 2 Earthquakes. Sacking off my Aegislash for fun just doesn't make any sense right here. I'm playing really poorly in regards of resource management, which is what Pokemon Draft League singles really is, and single battles in general really are, is it's all resource management. So really unfortunate and poor play from me. We're going to see this Meowscarada clicks knockoff, getting rid of my Citrus Berry. Not a super required item to have here, as Glimmora is going to come out. I'm going to go ahead and hit a Slack off, and this is where the game kind of ends here. I do get a KO with our Stone Edge, but unfortunately that's going to put up a T-Spike, and that just makes this offensive core of Meowscarada and Excadrill too much to deal with right here. What I think I have to do here now is maybe sack off my Glimmora to get rid of this T-Spike, and then win with the combination of Milotic plus Infernape. But unfortunately, I'm going to make the incorrect play. I need this for the Meowscarada, as they do just go down to EQ, and I'm thinking right here, okay, I can go Milo, force a KO, and then maybe Rock Polish up with Glim and win the game. But the issue is I can't really find that opportunity all too well, as Meowscarada is going to come in right here and take a Scald. And now I'm in the spot where I have my Marvel Scale. I actually can't die to this hit. So maybe what I need to do is find a position to, as I get, eat my Rindo. Maybe my better play is to not go for a kill there, find a position out into Glimmora, and then get up a Rock Polish and win the video game. But again, just really poor positioning for me. And that's going to be the game. We absorb the T-Spike finally at the end, but you'll see, obviously, the Scarf Drill is going to clean us up here. And that's going to be the game. It's going to be the end of the tournament. I actually think that my opponent here actually went top 4, top 8. So they did a really good job. It's not like me. I'm not, when I commentate and kind of say this is what I did poorly. It's just more so for you guys, for myself as well, to see I lost. This is why I lost. I could have done these things better. This isn't to discount my opponent at all. They obviously won. They had a really, really fun team, and they did incredible in turn, much better than me. It's more so I think I could have won if I played the tools a little bit more correctly, and this is a really poorly played game by me, so it was a really unfortunate way to go. But my team in general was a lot of fun. Almost make it top 32, make it top 64 was, not too bad as well, so I'm not going to be too upset and beat up over it. We'll take it for sure. And yeah, that's going to be the run, though. I hope you guys did enjoy this Champions run. I have some more ideas for some more videos and leagues and things like that. I have some tournament runs that I did recently where I didn't make it as far as this one. Like Usum, I ended up getting knocked out in play-ins, but I played what I consider one of the better Draft League players of all time in that round, and it was a close game. So if you guys want to see that video, let me know. I'd be happy. It's only 4 battles, but let me know if you guys would like to see our Usum run as well. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, though, and see you guys next time. Later.